Hello, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough, and I seriously can't believe it's taken me this long to do a video talking about Garfield. Garfield, the iconic comic strip fat cat that has appeared in tons upon tons of different media formats. Getting a start in the late 70s, Garfield focuses on a 3-panel comic strip format following a lazy orange tabby cat, living amongst his dorky human owner John, a dim-witted dog named Odie, and plenty of other characters. Since its creation, the series of newspaper comic strips launched the career of the cartoonist Jim Davis and his studio Paws Inc. Ever since, any and all mediums you can think of has had a Garfield variant. You got the comics, and then the compilation books, and then the TV specials, and the animated TV series, and the theatrical movies, and the video games, and the live shows, and the Macy's Thanksgiving parade float, and you even got a Garfield-themed restaurant, which got shut down due to the COVID pandemic. You name it, Garfield has it. It's kind of like Scooby-Doo or Simpsons or even a SpongeBob. You could say what you want about these comics not being funny or being stupid all you want, but you can't deny that it's lasted decades just based solely on strong brand recognition alone. But much like the previously reviewed Beetlejuice and Bill and Ted Halloween attractions, did you know that at one point in time Garfield had his own horror-themed amusement park ride? At the height of the initial Garfield merchandising boom of the 80s, Jim Davis was asked if Garfield would ever be considered as a theme park mascot or getting his own theme park attraction. Davis responded with an enthusiastic, "I wouldn't touch it. Never," saying he could never rival the masters of the industry over at Disney. And for the longest time, Garfield was not a part of any kind of theme park. And then just a swift 8 years later, Davis remembered he likes money. There were many attempts to put Garfield into a theme park ever since then. The first major attempt was in the late 90s, as a local theme park was planned to be built in Indiana called the Heartland Hendricks Entertainment Complex, which planned a whole Garfield-themed area in the park with plenty of themed rides, stores, and restaurants. While this park was eventually abandoned due to struggling budget, constant pushbacks, and even protests from locals, Davis asked various theme park experts for outside assistance. And in enters Kennywood, a small team mostly known in the Pennsylvania area. While visiting a high-level theme park business convention, Kennywood discovered Garfield was free for licensing and Jim Davis was willing to partner with them. By 2003, the Indiana Park project was officially canceled and it ended like you'd expect, with lawsuits, foreclosures, and an eventual bankruptcy. But in the meantime, Garfield and Odie had finally found a theme park that they could call home as walk-around characters, even getting actual Garfield rides, like the Garfield Pounce Bounce in 2002, a bounce tower with mice all over the tower and a Garfield statue on the top of the thing. But all that's just small potatoes compared to the very infamous attraction we're going to be talking about today. In enters Kennywood's longest-lasting attraction that has had many different updates and changes throughout its 124-year lifespan. Opening all the way back in 1901, the ride is arguably Kennywood's most well-known attraction. At a time when local amusement parks were coming into their own, this ride helped put Kennywood on the map for locals, being as basic as it could be. A dark ride where participants get into a boat, which rides around a dark tunnel, only to go all the way around until they return to the loading area to get off. This ride helping establish a theme park staple, the Tunnel of Love, a ride where couples and lovers could get close together and share kisses in the dark. Or maybe share a little something extra if you catch my drift. Yeah, you think I'm kidding. They eventually had to implement staff and security cameras to keep an eye on riders to make sure no major funny business was going on. Really let that sink in. There were people who had sex on a Garfield theme park ride. But I'm getting ahead of myself, back to the old mill. Throughout the years, Kennywood updated the ride to keep it fresh and new, adding projected animations featuring well-known comic strip and cartoon characters in 1940, adding animatronics to simulate a trip around the world in 1957. So in a way, it was kind of like It's a Small World. You know, minus the ear-gratingly annoying song that went along with it. And most notably, a comedic horror update and name change with Hard-Headed Harold's horrendously humorous Haunted Hideaway in 1974, which added new sets, animatronics, and animated characters that gave the riders the experience of traveling through a spooky old west town. This iteration of the ride stayed for quite a while until switching back to the old mill in 1992. By the 2000s, after 100 years of the park's history, it seemed it was time for Kennywood to give it yet another update. And with one successful Garfield ride under their belts, it seemed turning the ride into a Garfield Dark ride was the way to go. So in 2004, Kennywood got its latest edition and the old mill got its newest iteration, Garfield's Nightmare. Released for the Nintendo DS in 2007, Garfield's Nightmare was... No, I'm just kidding. Funny how a game and this ride share the exact same name, though. So let's see how well this lasted, especially considering this thing apparently developed a hatedom on the same level as Six Flags' Green Lantern ride. This is Garfield's Nightmare. Let's start with some footage on opening day of the ride.
Oh, Kenny, look at Jerome. He's walking away. Okay, how about, here he comes. Here he comes. Jerome, oh, there you go. Yay. Kenny is happy.
I like that she has to reassure us that Kenny is really happy to be there. If anything, I highly doubt it. Kenny's probably just there for business and political reasons. I wouldn't blame him. He's probably really jealous that Garfield was getting more attention at that point in Kennywood's history than he was.
They're all going to fit in there?
There's no way.
That boat's never going to make it out.
It's going to be the slow boat.
This cost is going to weigh over 100 pounds each.
So while you wait in line, the general building outside mostly stayed the same, the biggest change being the sign, as well as Garfield clinging to the window, making it appear as Garfield is trying to escape. If that's not ironically appropriate, I don't know what is. So, you would get in the boats, be given 3D glasses, which we'll get to in a second, and you enter the tunnel with some chilling narration from a mouse.
This is the most frightening adventure you will ever be on. Unless you have cheese. I like cheese. So give me some cheese and I'll...
Hi there. Enjoy your ride.
Head down the tunnel and you get a bunch of neon-colored cutouts of Pepsi products. What? Hey, let's take a wild shot in the dark and just guess what company was the snack and drink supplier for Kennywood. Do you think it was Pepsi? Something tells me it might have been Pepsi. I don't know about you, but I sure have a hankering for Pepsi right about now. Yeah, get ready for the neon coloring. It's gonna be an aesthetic choice for this ride. It also ties into the 3D glasses. You see, this isn't typical 3D. No, the neon colors were heightened by the glasses, so those wearing the glasses would see the characters popping forward compared to the items around them that weren't neon colored. Now, let's get to the ride itself. You get Garfield comic strips on the wall, all based on previously released Garfield comic strips. These would then lead into various areas with big, horrific animatronic scenery. So let's go point by point from strip to scenario to see what exactly this ride has to offer, and let's critique it as we go along. The first strip showing Garfield dozing off to sleep after a large meal. The first scene showing the house slowly coming to life. And then after that, you get a strip of Garfield chasing after an ice cream truck, only for the following scene where Garfield is running away from an ice cream truck driven by ice cream cone monsters. After that, we get a strip of Garfield pulling a prank on a mailman, for the next scene to show a mailman now equipped with a ferocious-looking dog animatronic. Yeah, get ready to see that thing in your nightmares, folks. Strip after that has Garfield messing with spiders, only for the next area to show Garfield coming across a giant spider. After that, Garfield eats a goldfish out of a bowl, only for a giant goldfish to be eating Garfield in an act for revenge. All the while in the background, there's this chair with a face that's smiling a fanged smile. Isn't that the nightmare chair from that one episode of SpongeBob SquarePants?
Come on, take a seat. Put your feet up and relax.
God, speaking of nightmares, that's gonna be haunting mine tonight. Garfield is being held captive by the vet Liz as she sprays fumes into the audience with this giant faux needle. Garfield annoys a pizza delivery guy, which causes a giant sentient pizza monster to try and eat him. And now, the most confusing scene thus far. Garfield tells John he's going to the kitchen, only to reveal John is now creating a Frankenstein-style hot dog monster, and the kitchen area has dancing lasagna boxes and kitchen appliances that are coming to life. Hey now, I had to review Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars earlier this year, okay? These evil appliances ain't got nothing on the weird pseudo-Nazi appliance army that were trying to blow up the planet Earth from that movie. Or who knows, maybe they were trying to out-weird the dream sequence segment from Monty Python's The Meaning of Life. And finally, the last strip has John asking Garfield to chase after some mice in the house, which Garfield refuses to do. Only for the next scene to show the mice preparing to cook Garfield into a cat stew. And with all that, all the characters appear one last time, smiling and happy, as it seems Garfield has finally woken up from his nightmare. Letting us all know that the ride is coming to an end and that they're going to be taking your picture very soon. Only for the final strip on the wall to be the only one that was made specifically for this ride, as it shows Garfield leaving, saying, "What a great ride!" Yeah, that's a lie. It was kind of scary, but it's over now, with all the monsters from the nightmare following after him. So, it wasn't really a dream, it actually was real. I'm okay. I don't really know what to take away from that ending, but okay, the ride's over now. So, that was Garfield's Nightmare, and overall, yeah, that was pretty bad. Now, obviously, whenever a classic ride is changed, you're going to have a group of people who are not going to be so open to the changes. But after seeing all of this for myself, it's easy to see the flaws that are with this ride. The very lackluster framing device with the comic strips that then pan over to cheap cutouts and awkward animatronics. The tone that feels a little too scary for young kids, but not entertaining enough for older riders. Not to mention the blatant product placement at the beginning. Apparently, as time went on, they barely did much maintenance with this thing, which resulted in a lot of audio cues messing up and paint slowly fading, resulting in this creepypasta level eyes that would go from neon blue to pitch black. Oh god, a horrible thought just crossed my mind. The untold story of Garfield's Nightmare. I was very excited to ride Garfield's Nightmare when I was just a kid. We got into the ride, and right away I could tell that something was off. Garfield's eyes became hyper-realistic and pitch black, while neon red blood leaked out of them. Coming to a Troll Pasta wiki near you. To their credit, the designer responsible for this, Larry Kirshner of Halloween Productions, is a talented guy, and he really tried to do his best with the whole neon color 3D gimmick, and I think if he was given a little bit more free range, he probably could have made an entertaining Garfield-themed Spook House Dark ride. But, and this is absolutely true, they asked him to make it not too good because the ride's limited capacity. So any kind of interesting ideas Kirshner had were ultimately whittled down to just cheap little cutout showcases that we got. But what eventually happened to the ride after it was initially opened? Well, in 2008, Garfield and Odie were finally erased from Kennywood as walk-around mascots, though Kennywood did end up incorporating things like the Pittsburgh Steelers and Thomas the Tank Engine, apparently. The ride managed to stay up for a solid 16 years despite losing Garfield and Odie as mascots in the park. That is until 2019, when Viacom and Paramount managed to acquire Paws Inc. and now claim ownership of the Garfield IP. This put pressure on Kennywood to keep the ride open since the price of licensing Garfield was now increasing. However, they didn't put up much of a fight and decided to just rebrand back to the classic Old Mill, and it's stayed that way ever since, at the time of releasing this video. Overall, if you want something Garfield related for the Halloween season, I'd say stick with watching Garfield's Halloween Adventure, or maybe reading his 9 Lives. Or, if you want something truly scary, you could always try playing Garfield Game Boy. Now that is something truly worthy of a title like Garfield's Nightmare. Next time we're going to be talking about a board game themed around a certain underrated Nick cartoon, but until then, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough.
This is a night
This is the night.
I was created for. I'm gonna put on my best disguise and go knocking on everybody's door. This is the night
This is the night.
I'm gonna hit the street. 'Cause this is the night folks are giving away so many good things to eat. Oh, people, you know life could be so sweet if every night was a night to go trick or treat.
Trick or treat.
Wouldn't it be sweet?
Kenny the Kangaroo reclaimed his throne in West Mifflin and even got a sidekick. Does he look familiar? No. It's the sign. It's the Kennywood sign. You can meet the sign.